Hello, welcome back to the channel. So with version 4 being pretty close, maybe we're only one more patch away until the 4.0, I wanted to talk about some changes I would like to see at some point in version 4, since I doubt everything is going to be in 4.0, you know. Now I'm going to try to keep this somewhat realistic. I'm not going to be like, oh, give us one free 5-star every single patch, because that's probably just not going to happen, you know. And I mainly want to talk about things that I feel like would make the gameplay experience better, because that's kind of mainly what I like to focus on. And I'm sure I'm not going to be able to mention everything, since not everyone plays the game the same way. So if you have any changes you would like to see, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and maybe while you're at it, subscribe as well. Anyway, for the first change, it is something that I've talked about a lot. They need to rework MOC, or just do something with it, you know? It is the most outdated mode in the whole game. The only things that have really changed about it recently are the enemies and what buffs are in it. How the actual mode works has not changed since 1.6, where they added stages 11 and 12 and some quality of life stuff. It is supposed to be simpler than the other modes, since it is the closest to base combat, but it feels almost too simple to the point where it's just boring, you know? First, the buff system I think is just the worst out of all the modes, because there's only one. It being an overarching buff, unlike the other modes, where it is one per side, makes it a bit more interesting, but only having one makes it feel very limiting on what characters can actually be good. If there are multiple buff options, I think that would just be better in general. The other problem, which kind of all of these modes have, but I think it is especially bad in LSE, is the enemies just have way too much HP at this point, man. There needs to be some kind of limit, because just giving the bosses more HP just makes them more annoying, not harder. And on top of that, makes the new characters have even more of an advantage since they have higher scaling. Maybe also if we could pick between 2 fights per side, I think that would also make it feel a lot better to play as well, though I'm not sure they would ever actually do that, you know. Now, keeping on the enemies, I kind of hope we get a bit more variety in boss design in version 4, because I feel a lot of the recent bosses have felt very similar to one another. They're all either summon something, or have multiple parts, and then have a big nuke attack, and then have a single target and an AoE attack. They have slightly different mechanics to them, but they don't feel substantial enough to feel different, you know? Now, I will say I haven't done the 3.7 story yet, so I don't know what Iron Tomb is like, but the others just feel way too samey, you know? Because a lot of them just kind of boil down to just use AoE or one-shot the boss and win. Which, to be fair, I feel like this has kind of always been a bit of a problem. I feel like it's gotten even worse in version 3. I'm not saying there should be no AoE bosses, but there should be some kind of variety, right? We have not even gotten a single boss like Sam that's just in one enemy and that's it. There needs to be some kind of variety, you know, especially when we're getting a new boss every single patch now. Assuming the story is going to work how it worked in Amphorius, which we don't know for sure yet. At least I don't, because I don't look at least. I also don't want it to just be the complete opposite, where it's only single target bosses, because then that would just be the same problem but slightly different, you know? But besides endgame and boss stuff, the thing that I am hoping for the most, even for 3.8, which I kind of doubt that's going to happen, is buffs. Buffs, I think, is one of the two things I think the game needs the most. The last buffs we got were in 3.4, and we have not gotten word on if we are going to get more of them since. Which, to be fair, might be a good thing, because if they announced them beforehand, that might just make people more annoyed, because they need to wait for them, and it might just make people feel like they're just being kind of lazy. But I'm gonna be honest, I usually try to be somewhat, fair even when I'm criticizing things. But if we do not get buffs at all early into version 4, I am just gonna kind of give up all hope on ever getting buffs at all, because there is no way it takes this long to do buffs. I just refuse to believe that. Maybe they were making all the kits for Currency Wars, and we're mainly focusing on that. But even then, there's no way you can't just do 2 things at the same time, you know? The fact that Sealing wasn't in the first round of buffs is honestly kind of criminal. But there's so many characters that could use buffs. Obviously, there's, some of the limited 5-stars like Amabadu Lune, or Ratio, which I do think will probably get them first. But half of the 4-stars and standard characters weren't good even when they came out, and have only gotten worse over time. I think those characters need buffs the most. If we aren't going to get more 4-stars, we could at least make the current ones decent, you know? Not to say there aren't any good 4-stars, but a lot of them are pretty bad. I hope they take some of the changes that they did for Currency Wars and use them to buff the current characters. Obviously not all of them, since some of them would either just be way too good or kind of just go against the identity of the character, Topaz getting AoE. But a lot of them, I think, could work as long as you just tone down the numbers to not be as insane as Currency Wars is. Which, speaking of that mode, this isn't necessarily like a change, but something I think I just want more of. Like, the game needs more side content, whether that be events or just whole new modes. Like, Currency Wars is the most I have seen people be excited and enjoying a game mode in a while, and I think rightfully so. Like, it is really fun, and it is the most I have played Star Rail in a while outside of the story. And I think that it showed that Star Rail was really just lacking in side content. Like, I think we have enough endgame modes now with Anomaly Aberration out. But, like, outside of endgame and the story, for a lot of patches, there just hasn't really been that much to do. Partially because of the lack of events, which definitely is part of this, and we do need more events. Because only getting, like, one real event in this patch is just kind of criminal. But also, the only real side mode we have had is Diverging Universe, which is just kind of stale at this point, because it's the only real non-endgame mode we've been getting. And Currency Wars being like a whole new thing has filled the gap for a lot of people. I just hope that isn't the only one we get, because they kind of tend to just run things into the ground a lot of the time. And while it is really fun, I feel like once we get closer to halfway or, past that into version 4, I think I might get kind of stale for some people, unless, the changes we get are just that substantial. But I feel like we could at least get one more, And not to say that it won't be fun at all later, I just think that if that's the only mode we have, I think people are going to get a bit bored of it, But also, to go with that, I think we also just need more Jades in general. Like, if we are going to get more 4 stars, we should be able to get more Jades to get the current 5 stars easier, because most teams now are just all 5 stars. Or even just, like, keep up the frequency that they've been doing of giving us free 5 stars, because that would also help this problem a lot. Now, I'm sure that there's some, like, quality of life stuff that I could have talked about and that I missed, but, like, I can't really think of anything right now. But these, I think, are the changes that I feel would make the game overall just feel better to play and make people want to play the game more often, because I think, like, that is just the biggest problem with the game right now for the longest time, and it kind of still is, even if it is a bit better now. It's just, like, the lack of content and just nothing to do. Currency Wars has showed that people do enjoy the gameplay of this game. It's just that there's just nothing to play, So I think as long as they do something about that in version 4, I think the game will be in a lot better spot, but I think we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens, since at the end of the day, we can ask for all the changes we want, but it's just kind of up to the devs on whether they change it or not. But, like, even if they don't do any of these changes, it's not like I think the game is going to die or anything, because for a lot of people, the story is just enough to carry it for a lot of people. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.